Hello, everyone, and welcome to episode 176 of Kouryer podcast. And yes, I finally got my new microphone. I put it on the stories. I don't know if you can see it. It's like my t-shirt is pretty dark here. It's like one of those like things that YouTubers you see a lot that use. And one Boya Pro, not sponsored. Like, I hope the audio quality is much better than previous episodes. Just want to let you know on that as well. And well, our today's guest is Mr. Daniele Trevisan. He's a freelance concept designer from Italy. Now, of course, before we jump into the questions and everything, that I usually do, let me just quickly mention that in the captions, you can check his Instagram ID if you want to go check out more of his works, or also in depth. If you want to check more of his works in depth, you can also check his art session as well. All the links are down below in the captions. And just one thing, if you're interested into the subject that, we're going to talk about, or his profession, he professionally works on, which is like gun designing and gun making for different IPs and stuff like that, there's a link to a gun design tutorial on his art station made in marketplace, which you can check out if you like. You can purchase it and use it. It's really in depth and it's really specific. So if you're into gun designing and stuff and you need to hone your skills in that area, you can check it out as well. And with that out of the way, let's jump to the first question that I ask everyone, which is but before I do that, how are you dealing with this heat of summer, actually? Like, that's my main question right now.
Yeah, actually, it's pretty tough because, like, at the moment I'm living in Croatia. I'm quite lucky, actually, because I'm living on the top of a hill. It's like they call it mountain, I call it a hill because, like, I'm used to like Alps and stuff like that because I'm actually from Italy. But yeah, it's quite like I'm a bit more fresh here. It's colder. Like usually it's 2 degrees like below like the average in Croatia. So I'm kind of coping. I also go to the beach and stuff like that. It's pretty cool to be here, honestly. Like it's almost like feels like being on vacation all the time. But yeah, so I cope like that. But I hate like hot weather in general. When I was living in the UK for 5 years, actually, like it was a nice weather, honestly. Like it was like a good temperature through the whole year, though. Like it rains a lot, but whatever. So yeah, I'd say I'm doing pretty good. What about you, man?
Like now is good. Like it's weird because right now, like Istanbul weather is actually crazy. Like what I mean by that, like 2 months ago, it was way hotter than now, which is kind of ironic, right? But now, of course, it's getting gradually hotter, Like at night, I don't put a blanket on me, because I don't need it. It's hot. But when I wake up in the morning, I wake up from cold.
I mean, it makes sense. Weird makes sense. Yeah. Yeah, I mean, so sometimes I can't. Sorry, I cut you off. But yeah, sometimes I go camp out with my dogs as well, and you can tell like during the night it's actually like quite cold. Sometimes I always find. I mean, sometimes I also find like basically the moisture from the tent that kind of like freeze up, in the morning. So it's like everything frozen. It's pretty interesting, yeah, even if it's summer.
Yeah, definitely. And right now it's like exactly 12 p.m. right now in Istanbul. And as the hours go by, like, by like, 3, 4 p.m., like, it gets super hot, right now it's relatively good. And I don't even have my AC on, but yeah, it gets brutal.
Oh, that's cool. Yeah, I mean, also like your country is quite famous to be like super, super hot in summer. So yeah, I can understand that.
Yeah.
You cut for a second though. For some reason, I couldn't see your video for like.
As well. Yeah, for me as well. Like no worries at all. I think it's a Zencaster problem or something, but it should be fine. We're recording very fine and well. Yeah, but the last place I want to be in this time of year is like anywhere near the equator, like Thailand, Indonesia. Yeah. Those places are so humid. Like you wouldn't
should be winter though in their place, isn't it? Like because like isn't like the equator like the
I know
boreal
like,
hemisphere and the austral hemisphere. It should be like slightly fresh than usual, but I don't know. Maybe I'm wrong. Never been to Thailand.
That's actually an interesting point. Like I know that right now in Australia is winter. Like I know that, but what about the equator? I don't know that. What is going on there?
Yeah, I mean, also like they have like because they have Christmas at the beach, but it's December. I don't know. It's like quite confusing. I don't know.
Yeah.
Whatever. Let's jump.
All right.
Next question.
Exactly. All right. So give us a little introduction on how we got into the world of visual arts and design. Basically, what this question means, tell us the story of that moment where you really realize that, oh, I want to become an artist.
Yeah. Okay. I'd say I'm part of like that group of people that never thought about like becoming an artist, honestly, because I know like most people like always drew when they were like young and stuff like that. It wasn't like that for me. I mean, I was into video games when I was a kid. I was into weapons and that type of stuff, but I never thought about like starting like designing them or whatever. My clicking point has been when I was like around 21, 22 years old. I didn't really know what to do with my life. And I was just looking for a job at that point. And I got an internship in this like mechanical like company in Italy. They were doing like boat engine pieces, basically. And they were looking for like an intern there for like CAD, AutoCAD and stuff like that, because I did like CAD in school. I come from it's called surveyor. Basically those people that take measurements in like workplaces, like in the street and stuff like that. I did that type of school. So I had a bit of background or like technical drawing and AutoCAD. So I applied to like this internship and I got the job. But it's pretty funny because I completely lied about knowing AutoCAD. I didn't remember how to use AutoCAD. So in 2 weeks, basically, noticed that then they had me. I had to like learn it back. And it kind of was like a fun experience doing that alone as well. It was like the first time, like for me, really getting excited about doing something like professional in a way, because I had many interests and hobbies like growing up, but they weren't really like monetizable, I'd say. So yeah, I really got into that, and I started working in this company. It was all good, but of course, I started looking a bit more into like the 3D world and CGI aspect, whatever. Started from AutoCAD actually, and then I discovered like in 3ds Max you could do like architectural previews, basically. And I got interested to that because I seen like a Facebook page of people like doing that, and I was like, holy shit, that's amazing! You can with the PC you can do something like that and make a living out of that. And it was kind of like in line with what I studied as well, because like again, like the figure I studied, at least where I come from, they kind of assist like architects and engineers about also like building houses and stuff like that. So it was like, okay, maybe it's something I can do, right? So I started like a subscription to Pluralsight. Was that time it was called Digital Tutors. There wasn't like Gumroad at that time. I started in 2014 actually. And I started learning 3ds Max. Then I discovered ZBrush and I started learning that. Then I discovered that you can actually like use 3D to make video games. So I was like, holy shit, that sounds kind of fun, So I really wanted to do that. And then I noticed that it was quite boring to actually like copy a thing perfectly, and like do all the retopology. Like the retopology was really like a deal breaker for me. I really hated that. So I noticed that every time like I was doing something in 3D, I was coming up with a different idea, right? At that point, I discovered concept art. I'd say like at this point, I was pretty much like 6 months in my journey. I was like working for this company and studying like pretty much every night and all weekend. It was pretty brutal, honestly. Like the first period, I got so much obsessed about it. Then after like the probation like period, I had like in that company, they actually offered me a full-time job, but I say no because I really wanted to focus more on what I was learning, basically. And this was like March, I think, 2015, something like that. And from that period, pretty much like studied all day, 16 hours a day, every day, until I got like a few gigs, basically. Like my first gig actually was doing some marketing images for like this like hard surface product, because I was really into hard surface, right? But it was a very like tiny niche, and I was getting more and more into concept art. And looking at the job posting online, I was noticing that most companies were looking for a generalist, right? So I started getting into Photoshop even more. I started to learn in painting. I started to learn like also like in that period of time, the first Gumroads were coming out. I remember like one Gumroad that really changed my workflow completely at that time was like John Sweeney, intro to environment painting. I really learned a lot of stuff there, like with 3D, photo bashing, painting, all that type of stuff. Because I really, really wanted to get into video game. Like at the beginning, I was getting a lot of industrial design style of gigs. So I wanted something a bit more like in the entertainment industry. So I got into painting and all that stuff. And eventually, like, yeah, I landed like, my first job at New World Interactive. That's how I started, honestly. I got to work on Insurgency Sandstorm. I did some concept for them. I did pretty much like mostly like environments, characters, and all that type of stuff. I didn't do any hard surface work for them. I had a period of time where I was pretty much like a generalist concept artist. Like some people don't remember because I was a nobody. Most people remember me from like my CAD hard surface like images, but before that, I was heavily into painting environments and stuff like that. Actually, you can find some of on my station that are divided in three. There are some environment paintings I did for New Interactive. But yeah, this is how I started. It was like a cool and interesting journey for sure.
All right, pretty interesting. And here's the thing, like, yes, of course, I mean, I think saw some of your environment stuff as well on your R station as well. But the thing is, which is kind of like intriguing to me, which is who's the frog character you have as your profile picture everywhere? Like, where is it from? Like,
oh yeah,
movies and series?
yeah, it's a character from Naruto. It's like a super dumb frog. I mean, I just recently changed my profile picture. I was like, yeah, I'm gonna go with something a bit more silly. Also because I'm working on a personal project, which is kind of an IP, which is based on frogs. So yeah, it was a way to kind of tease that in a way that nobody could understand, but I would still have fun doing that, you know. And I love Naruto, honestly. I'm not like a massive fan in anime, but Naruto is one I watch all through, and yeah, it was like a big part of like my like young years. I'd say my I wouldn't say my childhood. It was more like my teen years for sure. It was really very cool.
Yeah, it's one of those classics, Naruto, and yeah, it's kind of interesting. Like because I've seen a lot of people who, like wait. So let me just get to the point. Like what I want to say is that it's important for kids to be exposed to just young people to, yes, I mean like cartoons, films, or just any form of media, even video games. You know that inspires them. You know. Because especially shonen mangas and animes are like that's one of the main points of them. You know, it's not necessarily like, you know, dumb goofy stuff. It's just like One Piece, Naruto, Dragon Ball, all of them. Like, you know, they're
they honestly teach you. Yeah, they honestly teach you to be a good kid, pretty much. Yeah, I think there is a lot of like that into those animes that which is pretty cool. I mean, it's interesting you mentioned like that. Like you need to expose to like video games and media and stuff like that growing up, because I have a very like vivid and cool memories of me and my dad like playing like LAN parties with his friends. It was like early 2000, I think, late 90s, and I was playing fucking Unreal Tournament and Quake at like 6 years old, like with like arms flying around and blood everywhere. It was fucking amazing.
Oh, that's awesome. And all right, let's jump to a question that I'm actually particularly interested in, which is, how does your design process usually go anytime you want to start working on just a new project or a new piece that you need to? For example, you get a prompt from the concept artist or, you know, whatever, and they say, all right, 3D model this, or maybe just design this, you know? And basically, how does your design process usually go?
Okay, yeah, it really depends by the client, honestly, because like some particular clients maybe just want to see my vision, right? So they're like, yeah, just do what you want, and most of the time I just start in 3D from scratch. Sometimes I do like a quick sketch, maybe a silhouette in Photoshop, just to have like as a background in Fusion maybe or Blender, whatever, because I use other programs as well for especially for my vehicles. Or when it comes to like larger stuff, I tend to use like Blender, for example. And 3D is like a big part of my workflow. It's always like in my workflow, usually somewhere, even if I have to do like quick sketches, maybe I do like a super quick block out, a dirty render, and then I have like a solid base to work from, and help me with like with the colors, with the materials underneath, with the perspective and all that stuff. But yeah, it really depends by the client. So sometimes it happens like that. They just want to see my vision, right? So I provide like my vision directly, just a final 3D concept, like extremely polished. But most of the time, the clients want to see like variations. So I usually do sketches in 2D first. When I was working at Creative Assembly, for example, we had the process for concept art divided in 3 stages. The first stage was like super quick sketches, like usually 2D stuff. They were very rough. Then the art director and like the designer will like, come together and pick like the version they wanted. Then stage 2, maybe it was like slightly more developed. Maybe for a gun, for example, I was like exploring the first person as well, but it was very like quick block out, photo bashing, painting on top. And stage 3 was like the finished, like super polished concept that after like the end of the project, we kind of like removed as well. Like most of the time, stage 2 concept was enough, and for most clients, that's the case. So yeah, people are quite used to see like my extremely polished concept in my like personal work, because this is like something I really like to do in general. But yeah, it depends. Like I have quite some work from professional like sources, let's say, that are like quite sketchy and fast and like photo bash and all that stuff. So yeah, I use a very wide spectrum of media to come out with my final work for sure.
All right, and just wondering, I had another question, personally, which is, like, of course, you've done a huge amount of homework. It shows when it comes to like gun design, and stuff like that. But I was wondering, like, where did you get your information, like, in your studies? Because like, did you just like because the concept of like designing like a gun for like an asset like a gun for a video game is you need to also make it cool, but you also make it functional and realistic. So where did you get references usually? Just the whole process of your research. That's what I want to know and I'm interested in.
Yeah, okay. I have loads of years of experience now working with guns, because like it's one of like the subject matter that most interested me. So I kind of have like a visual library now in my head. But I'd say like great resources for references are YouTube for sure, because like you can find many videos where like they disassemble the gun, where they show the inside. There are many guns YouTubers you can check out. Instagram is also not sorry Instagram. I mean Instagram as well. Honestly, I follow like many manufacturer pages and stuff like that. Sometimes I just hit save. I have like different folders in my Instagram account divided for reference. It's not like extremely handy, because like most of the time Instagram is on your phone, so if you have to check references on your computer, it's a pain in the ass to have like your phone there. But sometimes you can just send a screenshot maybe and send it over to your PC to have it there, because like I usually like that setting to have everything on my PC. Another great resource is Pinterest. Everything there, and it's not just for gun, it's for literally everything. Another cool idea is like shooting a gun. I shoot a lot, honestly. I love shooting. Just going through that process like helps a ton. If you live in a country where it's not possible, I'd say that get an airsoft. Get an airsoft just to check the different proportions, just to like feel the gun and see how it should look. Right, that helps a lot. Another like resource most people can use, is very handy. I think it's like free as well. It's on Steam. and it's called World of Guns, and it's a game where you can basically disassemble so many type of guns, and you have like all the internals and stuff like that. So yeah, lots of resources there. But you really have to, for everything, honestly, in design, you really have to develop that eye. Just watching references and also like check what other people do, honestly, because like there is lots of reverse engineering you can do. There is like a great book on this called "Still Like an Artist."
Oh yeah,
Um,
that's
we, I'm probably like sure that other people mention it on your podcast because it's quite common in our industry, and it kind of like explain you how to like understand what other people maybe in your community or like industry do, and like dissect what they're doing and try to come up with your own ideas without actually copying it, you know. But yeah, these are resources I'd say are I personally use.
well. Here's the thing. Actually, it's funnily enough, one of my friends, he recently came to Istanbul and he actually messaged me and say, "Hey, want to go to a shooting range?" Now, and I was like, "No, I have 2 podcasts to record today." But yeah, tomorrow we're gonna meet. But that's like an interesting thing I just remembered. And another interesting thing is that in Iran, where I come from, there's when basically military service is mandatory for boys, right? It's for 2 years, but also when you're 16, there's a subject in high schools, and just anywhere for boys, which is like how should I translate it? It's basically basic preparation of if the country goes to war, like how to inject atropine and some like anti-chemical warfare stuff, how to resuscitate someone, basic stuff, which is actually those are like honestly good things to learn,
Oh
like
yeah.
nothing wrong with that. But the part of that subject is they take you to an actually military base, school kids, and they like a strict military environment. They do like they make you sit up, get up, get down, like a bunch of stuff. And last but not least, everyone's favorite part, of course, before that we disassemble the guns and teach us how to do it, and then we have to shoot the guns, like 8 bullets I think everyone has, every
That's
had.
pretty cool.
And yes, someone has to like with a helmet get because the bullets pop out of the chamber, right? They have to like the shell of the bullets that you fire, right? And you have to collect them because they're hot, they're really hot, and they just throw away and it might get in someone's face, so you have to like do like this. And I remember I shoot the gun and I was like, all right, okay, now it's my turn to hold the helmet, and I forgot. I was just sitting there like looking, then someone rushed, kneed me to the body and quickly put the helmet on here. Oh, it was wild. And
But yeah, like it's funny you mentioned that because every time I go shooting or I do a course or whatever, the range cleanup is always like a stage of everything. Like usually the final stage that you go there with a fucking bucket and you pick up all like the shells and stuff like that because like they want the range to be clean. So yeah, something you need to do.
yes, of course, 100%. And another thing I want to also ask you, I mean, of course, you're dealing, the thing I think you're focusing on is not necessarily on the fantasy sci-fi side of guns. It's mostly realistic size, And I was wondering, like, what are your thoughts on, like, weapons and guns, like, for example, in Fallout games? Like, have you seen those?
Yeah, those are actually pretty cool because they are a bit more thought out, I'd say. I mean, they're not really my cup of tea, but yeah, I still like them, honestly. Some guns I usually really don't like are those like very like forward sci-fi, like into the future that are like super crazy. I don't know, like Halo guns, for example. Those are definitely not my cup of tea. I really like that like near future like type of period, for example, like, I don't know, like the latest Battlefield is the right like spot where I like to sit, like that near future, still reliable in a certain way, like you can relate to, but with a sci-fi twist, I kind of like that stuff. But yeah, it's honestly like even like some weird guns, I find myself to like them. Like I don't know, Elysium gun, for example, like super nice. Even like the super sci-fi one, because like they actually thought through. They're not like random sci-fi mess. They tend to do in video games a bit more. But yeah,
Yeah, I
those
know.
are like my general thought.
Yeah, so you like guns basically that their logic makes sense in a sense, right? Like, for example, you see the mechanisms, how the mechanism works. It's not just a sci-fi fancy facade that just, that people say, oh, that's a cool gun. No, you just want an actual gun that makes you believe that it could be real, So I get it. Yeah. Yeah, but there's
Yeah,
some craziness
absolutely.
going on in Fallout. Yes, I go.
Yeah, because I think like if you can kind of sell that functionality vibe, it's way better for the viewer. It can kind of understand, get more into like the story and everything. If it's something like too out there, which is like too distant for what we have at the moment, it's difficult to relate to again. So I'd say, yeah, I kind of like something a bit more like realistic. Yeah, that's also like my general thought process for like most of my personal work. I'm actually developing an IP. It actually started from like a joke, pretty much. But yeah, like it's usually it's probably like a bit more sci-fi than the stuff I usually do, but it's still very relatable. It's very gritty. It's very like industrial. You can like pick up certain shape in today's cranes, for example. So this is like the design I like to do usually.
All right. And actually, there's something else that we also discussed this, of course, before we started recording, but I just I think it's an interesting subject nonetheless, which is you mentioned that you're from Italy, but you're in Croatia. So what we also discussed was, you're also doing this digital nomad lifestyle. Could you share us your experience of like being a digital nomad and to the audience as well?
Okay, so yeah, I'm actually from Italy. I lived in the UK for like 5 years. I was like full time there. I was freelance first, then I worked for a creative assembly for 3 years and a half. So it was pretty stable there. Then the COVID situation happened, and my girlfriend had some like family problems and stuff like that. She wanted to be like a bit closer to family, so we actually decided to go back to Italy. Also because like we had like some very favorable like tax regulation there, because like we've been outside of the country for 2 years, and for 5 years we had like some a really really convenient tax bracket to be in, basically. So because usually taxes in Italy are extremely crazy. They're like 73% with like social contribution. Is something insane. So yeah, I was like, yeah, for 5 years we kind of sat. It was actually like even cheaper than the tax in the UK. So I was sold on that. But yeah, then I remember how the Italian bureaucracy is. Then I remember like all the weird stuff going on in Italy. And after a couple of months, we decided to like be on the road, basically. Yeah, we mostly been to Croatia, honestly. Also because like for summer I wanted to be here, because they have they have very nice beaches and like very cool natural places. I'm really big into that as well. Even where I live here now, I told you like I'm pretty much on the top of a hill, and it's super cool because I have a trail right outside my door. I can walk my dog, and it's like super super cool. It's something I really enjoy. But yeah, it's quite tough from like bureaucratic point of view, because like most people don't really understand the setting. Even like the accountants, they struggle a bit with the whole situation, because at the moment I'm still resident in the UK, which is like not really true, and my company is there as well. But yeah, as long as you keep moving, all countries have their own regulation. But for example, Croatia has like 6 months where you can pretty much like live tax free. Then you have to move on. Otherwise, you consider a tax resident in the country, and you have to pay taxes. And also, like, I don't like to fly much, especially with my dog. I have a big dog. It's always like a pain to fly with dogs. So we're kind of like looking around like places here in Europe, like reachable by car instead of like flying. Because otherwise, if you fly, there are so many places to go. Bali, for example, just recently announced like 5 years tax free completely in the country for attracting like digital nomads and stuff like that. So there are many options. Portugal is pretty good as well in Europe. but yeah, most countries usually, like if you're a European citizen, for example, they allow you to stay there 3 months as a European citizen and 3 months more if you like apply for like long stay. But then you have to pay taxes, so it's something to consider. Usually, my suggestion would be to stay like 3 to 6 months in a country and then move on in another. At the moment, actually, like I'm looking to settle because I really want to like have a base, basically a place to stay. I don't mind like traveling around and stuff like that. Maybe I do it again. I'll do it again in the future. But I want a place, a house where I can like leave my stuff, because it's a bit of a pain sometimes to just like go around and stay very minimal with the stuff you have, clothes and like equipment for working and all that stuff. But yeah, it has been like a very interesting experience, of course, and it's super cool to see different like countries and cultures and stuff like that. And we've been living off Airbnbs, like we've been living in Airbnbs. There we go. Which can be quite expensive, especially like around like summertime and like holiday times. But other than that, it's probably the best option because you don't have any like problem with like electricity bills and like water bills and register internet, whatever. It's literally like a place where you go, you have internet, you have everything ready to work, and then you can pack your stuff and go somewhere else. So I'd say like that's the best probably like setting to like work. But yeah, that's my experience.
All right. And well, let's answer some of the questions that people ask that, I put the question box in the stories and let's see what people ask. All right. So,
Sweet.
Equela, A1 Quella, these are some like weird usernames. I'm sorry. I don't know how to read that. Sorry to mispronounce it. Asked, what are your daily rates? That's the question.
I usually don't like make my rates like public, because like most of the time like it changes based on the client. I'm actually like I'm quite like fond on the idea of like having different like type of charging for like different type of clients and like size of the business and stuff like that. But yeah, I start from 650 usually.
All right. And
Most of the time I prefer to do like project price as well. I don't really like to price my time by like the time I spend on something rather than the value I provide. But it depends. At the moment I'm working with a client and it's daily rate. So you have to like accommodate the client sometimes as well.
Exactly. And 96 Love Me Forever, that's his username, asks how
it's a great guy,
yeah. How to think like designer, how to train your mind to think.
I'd say like you really have to eat and digest tons of references, collect them, look them through, study them, and reverse engineer those references. And reference can be, as I said before, can be like images on the internet, or can be someone else's work as well. But yeah, you really have to like put in the work, especially in the beginning, to develop your own aesthetic, to again start to think as a designer, to like understand why that bold goes there. Sometimes you can go a bit like random. Of course, we're working in entertainment. It's not like industrial design or engineering. You have to be like 100% perfect. I always like mention the fact that most of the time in entertainment you work with perceived functionality, right? But you still have to know what you're doing, right? So you have to like pretty much reverse engineer the content and the references you have, and understand why certain things are done in a specific way, right? Why, I don't know, why a rail is done like that. An handguard is done like with a quad rail, because you can attach different attachments. Why, like, I don't know, like an M-lock is better or worse than a quad rail. It's something like you can Google, you can search on YouTube. But yeah, asking questions, I'd say, is like a great way to start thinking more as a designer, for sure.
All right. And all right, another question by Aquila. He has two questions. All right. He says
Mm-hmm.
some advice for beginners on how to get clients.
I mean, easiest way, honestly, is the quality of the work. I know it sounds like harsh to some people, but literally, like most of my gigs, I've been contacted by the client. So as long as you provide quality, clients will find you. Honestly, I mean, starting out. It's usually quite difficult to it's quite difficult usually to find your core niche and start working from your core niche most of the times. I mean, at least from my experience, there are quite people that did that. They started doing, I don't know, hard surface. They did hard surface all the time, and they ended up doing like concept art for hard surfaces. But yeah, like speaking from my experience, it's usually easier to get like a big all-around education you can do by yourself. Of course, you don't need any school or whatever. I completely self-taught, so that's the thing. But yeah, like you can literally just like do like a bit of everything just to have an idea of how it works. And being at a professional level of pretty much everything is usually way easier to get like an entry level position in the industry rather than do, I don't know, like extremely like well done hard surface, especially hard surface. Honestly, I find it's like an hard topic to like break the industry in, you know. Because if you do characters, if you do environments, usually it's a bit easier, especially environments. Concept artists are very like requested, I'd say, in the industry. And our surface is very specific, so you need to be at a very high level to get jobs into that. So yeah, again, to start, I suggest to like get an idea of pretty much everything, and that may be specialized on something you really like. But that's my suggestion.
All right, awesome, man. That's actually such interesting because one of my favorite niches that I would love to like break into as well in the industry is hard surface. Now that you say it,
Oh yeah.
I realize maybe I should, I don't know, like get good at some like, because as you said, hard surface is pretty niche, and I think I should stick with general stuff first and get good at those, and fundamentals, then move to hard surfaces. That's their mentality you're trying to.
Yeah. Don't get me wrong though. Like it's still doable, but you really need to put so much effort into it. I mean, a guy that recently did it. It was Gan. It's called Gan. It's from Mongolia. I remember years ago it was like just starting out, but he studied a lot and he started putting out very cool and complex pieces, and eventually got like some really nice and cool gigs with like Microsoft. Like he worked on Star Atlas, stuff like that. It's a friend of mine, so it's a very good example of like someone that picked his niche from the beginning and pushed through and eventually got where he wanted to go. But yeah, it's difficult because like you really have to put lots of effort into it, because like again, it's you have like a kind of small request in the industry for like that particular topic, especially in concept art, because like for a 3D artist it's a bit easier. They always need like production artists to do retopology, to do hard surface and stuff like that. But for concept artists it's a bit more difficult. So you already have like a small like request, and there are quite some people getting into hard surface now as well. So you really have to excel to get like lots of job on that. And again, it's always useful to have other skills as well, because like one of the latest gigs I worked on, it was characters. So yeah, I also like to switch as well, and I did an environment as well last month. So yeah.
All right, and all right. The last question is by Art Hacker. He asks, "Ask him if he will mentor me. I'll pay. I just need a few nudges to unlock my potential."
I talked with that guy yesterday as well because he reached out to me in my DMs, and I told him already like I'm not really like comfortable in charging an individual as much as I charge a company, and to make it to to kind of make that that type of like learning material, which is like 101s almost, or like a mentorship class or something. I'd need at least, I don't know, like 5 persons, probably something like that, in order to make it like cost effective and like not a waste of time for me. So it's something like I consider in the future for sure, if there is interest in doing that. But yeah, at the moment, yeah, I don't offer any one-on-one coaching or whatever.
All right, I hope that answers that. And all right, let's jump to our next subject, which is who are some of your favorite artists and designers that have inspired you the most?
Okay, yeah. In the beginning, I had many, honestly. Like lots of people. Like I bought some courses and tutorials from John Sweeney. I mentioned it one. It really taught me how to like photo bash and do some environments and stuff like lighting, all that type of stuff. So yeah, that's definitely like an artist that impacted me in my career. Another one is for sure like Vitaly Bulgarov. Like literally when I started, uh, it was like working on those like one robot per day challenge, whatever. So seeing that like, in real time, like him putting out that stuff, it was really inspiring for me. And I think like everyone in the industry that does art surface has a huge respect for like Vitaly Bulgarov, because it was like one of the first to actually like start working in 3D as a designer and putting out like amazing content. Uh, Another artist that inspired me for sure, especially for his work ethic and yeah, his work ethic mostly. It was like and still is honestly Maciej Kuchara, really famous artist that like really did a lot for the community in terms of like learning material and like podcast and shit ton of stuff. So yeah, I'd say so. And another one that I really like from a pure design point of view is like Aaron Beck. His robots and weapons and like he created amazing content for like movies and video games. You can always like feel his work because he has like such a distinctive style, and yeah, his creations I've never seen before. So yeah, it's a great designer that really inspired me.
All right, and all right, what are you working on right now that you can tell us about? What kind of project is it? I mean, of course, there's always NDAs involved. I mean, if that's the case, I mean, we can skip right past this question.
Yeah.
But if that's not the case, what are you doing right now?
At the moment, I'm working with Activision. Actually, I'm working on the new Call of Duty from Treyarch. Of course, I can say the name because that's still NDA. I'm also doing some guns for COD Mobile. So yeah, it's mostly like Activision at the moment, and then I have like some other like smaller clients here and there sometimes that I manage to still follow, honestly.
All right, and what are some of the areas beside art that you would be interested to explore and learn in the future? Like basically, what I'm trying to ask is, what other ambitions or hobbies or other stuff you want to do in life you have besides art?
Absolutely. Like I'm huge into working out, honestly, and I think everyone, honestly, working a desk job should do that. I honestly like I have like a particular love for that, but yeah, anyone should like at least like move a bit just to keep healthy. So yeah, I like to lift weights, like do some workouts, run, rock with my dog, walk, go hiking and stuff like that. So that's a huge part of like my life for sure. What else? I like shooting. As I told you before, it's like a great passion I have like since I'm a child. Honestly, I remember like my dad used to give me like the first like electric guns, like airsoft guns. They were like super crazy because you had to like plug them in the electric like plug as well.
Outlets.
So
It's
they're
called
like
outlets.
super. Yeah, they were super nasty. Like they were, like, a shit ton of like smoke and stuff like that. I really like that a lot, and I was always like into shooting and military stuff since I was a kid. So there is that as well. And what else? Honestly, I play video games sometimes. Not much, honestly. Like I'm not huge into video games. I recently like replaying Stronghold Crusader. It's a very old game. Stronghold
Which
2 as
one?
well.
Two, or the first one or the second one?
Yeah, the
The
second
second
one.
one.
Stronghold 2
Oh,
and Stronghold Crusader #1. Yeah, like the graphic is like absolutely nasty, but I love it for what it is. So
I still play it sometimes. I still play the first one
um,
sometimes.
it's absolutely amazing, honestly. Like it's one
Yeah.
of the best games, and it's big part of my childhood as well. So you have good memories. I can really relax there because like sometimes you can be stressed out for like working long hours and stuff like that. So I don't mind just like sitting there after I did my workout, of course, just to keep healthy and all that stuff, just to sit there back again and yeah, have some fun and clear my head a bit.
All right. Awesome. And by the way, who's your favorite like ally in a Stronghold Crusader one? Like, who do you pick as ally usually?
Song of Crusader 1. I mean, I love the rat.
Wait, on max difficulty?
Okay. I play only the two, Stronghold 2 and Stronghold Crusader 1. So you
Yeah,
have
I played Crusader
Saladin
one.
in Crusader. Oh, in Crusader, I didn't play Crusader 1. No, the graphic is like too bad for me. I started from the 2
Oh,
because like I'm a bit, I don't know if I'm older or like younger than you. I'm 29 now, but yeah, I
I'm
never got to play the
25.
the
Yeah.
oh, you're younger than me, okay. But
Yeah,
yeah, I
no,
never
not the
got to
far
play
part.
like
Yeah.
the first one. But yeah,
Yeah.
honestly, like also like I play in Italian. So yeah, all like the classic lines, are in Italian, and sometimes I just like joke with my girlfriend. I'm like, oh, we need uh, like rocks, whatever, because I don't know like the line in English, but yeah, they're actually quite funny in Italian as well. But yeah, I honestly like I just love like the fact that you can tune out and like build your castle and like collect resources and like repel hordes and stuff like that. It really clears my mind. So yeah.
Yeah, and the thing is, like, it's funny that you mentioned it because in Iran, the first version of the game that came in was the Farsi dubbed version of it, and everyone remembers it as. And it's a funny meme, especially the Farsi lines in the, like, the because we didn't play it like in English, and it's so funny actually. Now you mentioned that.
There we go. Yeah. It's the same in Italy. Honestly, we everyone played in Italian, so like the iconic lines are in Italian.
Yeah,
And the guy
exactly.
holding like the book like that is also like quite funny.
Yeah, exactly. All right, so we've reached the final question and section of the podcast, which is called Final Words. All right, let me
Yeah.
explain what it is basically. Imagine in a limited amount of time, like a couple minutes, that you had in that window of time, you had the opportunity to say anything to anyone who might be listening to this podcast in the future. Like they've been listening to this podcast and now they're at 48, 50 seconds, and they're listening to us right now. To those people, what do you have to say? It could be anything.
You mean like in terms of like a suggestion I could do to other
Yeah.
ads, stuff like that?
No, not
Okay.
just for art, just in general, like as a human to another human being.
Oh, okay, gotcha. Let me think. I'd say like love your craft because like I've seen like recently like it's quite common now for artists like to really get too much into the like social media machine. They tend to be super super productive, just to push pieces out for like money and stuff like that, which is all cool. But I'd say like my suggestion would be love your craft, find something you really like to do, and it will feel like not working basically. If you can find your true passion in design, because actually design is like such a like a broad like discipline. You can literally do anything. So if you are ready into being an artist, being a designer, like really spend your time to find what you really like. Don't like mind like failing while exploring, because I did that as well. I even did like some fantasy pieces back in the day that I won't I won't show, but yeah, I did that as well. So yeah, spend your time, so like the first year maybe trying to explore what you like to do, and then like just crush it, honestly. That would be like my suggestion for another artist, like maybe starting out or even already in the community.
All right, awesome. And I think you're a bit lagging. I think you had a little bit of Wi-Fi problem there, but I think it's fine now.
Yeah. You were also like frozen for a bit. I was a bit scared, but you actually like
I know
recovered like once I finished. So cool.
Yeah.
Cool.
And all right, so that's it. Thanks so much for coming by. And where can people contact you if they had any questions? Is there Instagram account okay for messaging and stuff like that?
Yeah, I'd say Instagram is absolutely fine. Yeah, if they contact me on Instagram, I can reply faster. I'd say like it's easier with the DMs. I don't really like pay too much attention to like our session messages sometimes, like unless they're like business stuff. But on Instagram, I'm way more reachable. I usually reply to everyone. So yeah, if you want to contact me, whatever, feel free. Otherwise, my email, you can find it on our station, Instagram, whatever. If it's something like a bit more complex, but yeah, Instagram will be fine, I think. And thanks so much. Thanks so much for having me as well, man. It was a pleasure.
It was fun. Yeah, and thanks again for coming by, and thank you to anyone who tuned in and listened to this episode as well. I hope you enjoyed the new audio quality. I need to check it after the podcast. I mean, I did test everything out like 10 times. Like, I'm sure it's changed now, but I'm kind of paranoid, always, And yeah, that's about it. And take care, everyone. Have a good day. Till next episode. Bye.